Malenia Blade of Miquella has garnered quite a reputation in Elden Ring. To call this encounter a handful is a huge understatement. Many players such as myself struggled a lot with this boss. I fought her for countless hours and discovered several things that helped me throughout the fight. In this guide, I'll be sharing a few tips and strategies to make it a tad bit easier. Let's go.
I am Malenia, Blade of Miquella.
Why is Malenia hard to beat? She's quick, her attacks have life-stealing properties, and some of her moves take a lot of practice to get used to. Even while blocking, she can recover health when her attack connects. If you're using spirits or playing co-op, she can steal life from them too. Plus, she has a ton of HP. What makes this boss fight difficult for me at least is her evasive maneuvers. She may slide to your side while you're in attack animation, whack you, and you end up dead. Figuring out when to strike was incredibly confusing to me. Not to mention, her wide assortment of moves and combos took a long time for me to understand. Now that we know why she's difficult to deal with, we now know what to do. The ideal way to beat her is to not get hit. Easy to say, hard to accomplish. Much like most bosses in any From Software game, Malenia demands you to think outside the box. The player needs to use all the tricks in his or her arsenal. In Malenia's case, it's to the utmost extreme, and you need to throw everything you got. So, what does work? She can be staggered. Some of her moves can be interrupted by your attacks. These attacks can be cancelled, and that gives you an opportunity to deal some damage. Her stance can be broken. When parried 3 times, you'll break her posture, and she can be reposted. Attacking her many times can also lead to the same thing. This leaves you for an opening to do a critical attack. You can knock her down. Malenia can be knocked down by several spells and skills. Incantations such as Flame of the Fell God and Giant's Flame Take Thee can leave her lying on the floor. More of this later in the video. Malenia bleeds. Bleed weapons are highly effective against this boss. When triggered, blood loss can also cancel her moves. She's susceptible to frostbite. When inflicted properly, Malenia's attacks and special moves can be cancelled when frostbitten. It also adds a debuff that lowers the boss's damage absorption by 20%. Spirits. I haven't used a whole lot of spirits, but I was able to try out Red Mane Knight Oga. When an enemy is far away from him, he uses his great bow to attack, which causes an enemy to get knocked down. This gives you an opening to cast your spells or use strong attacks. He's also good at close combat, and can knock down Malenia using his melee moves. Overall, patience is key. Knowing when to attack and when to stop is important. Being overly aggressive will get you killed. Thankfully, there's a grace just outside the boss room. If you die, you don't have to do a whole lot of running. Take advantage of that to study her in practice. It may get annoying at a certain point, but you'll eventually get there. Here's the good news. You can evade most of her attacks by rolling, sprinting, and jumping. If you know what's coming, the fight feels less like hell. I'll be going over all the moves that she does on both faces. The attack she uses will depend on how close you are to the boss, her remaining HP, and what type of attacks you use in her. Some of her attacks have super armor properties, meaning you can't interrupt her while she does the attack, and the move will continue even when you hit her. However, most of her attacks can be cancelled by status ailments such as frostbite and blood loss. Let's start with this move, Spin Slash. Malenia spins counterclockwise and does a wide slash. This attack can easily be dodged on reaction and can also be parried. This move can be interrupted. Malenia may use other attacks right after the Spin Slash, turning it into a combo attack. She will string her moves, giving you a little time to strike or defend yourself. With proper timing and spacing, you can attack before her swing hits you. If you want to play safe, you can always attack when she's done with her barrage of moves. Knowing what's punishable and what isn't is immensely important. We have the Backhand Slash. The boss will spin in a clockwise motion, then does a slash attack while her back is turned against you. She may do this attack after dashing to the right side. This move is easily dodgeable and can be parried. However, make sure to dodge at the right time, to avoid getting caught in the slash while still in animation. Much like the Spin Slash, Malenia may use another move right after Backhand Slash. You may strike in between her attacks or after. The combo that Malenia does following the Backhand Slash is one I love punishing. Next, the Flurry Strike. The boss will dash towards you, slashing her sword 3 times, then slows down to do another one, resulting in a 4-hit attack. Malenia's prosthesis/hand will glow and you'll hear a clank sound, a sign that she'll use this move. The boss may sometimes backslide when she's being attacked, and will do Flurry Strike. You can roll back or roll through the first 3 slashes. Make sure not to dodge too quickly or you'll get hit by this move. If you prefer to roll through, you can attack her up close while she's doing the last strike. The Flurry Strike can be interrupted and is a good move to punish. Kick, a fast spinning kick that she uses when your character is in close proximity. When Malenia runs towards you and gets close enough, she'll do her spin kick. This one can be dodged without a problem. She may instantly attack right after kicking, so be careful. Rising Dual Slash. Malenia bends her knees slightly, raising her sword arm on her back. She slashes upward, then attacks downward while falling. This can easily be dodged by rolling or walking around her. This is one of her easier moves to punish. Charging Dual Slash. The startup of this move is similar to the Rising Dual Slash. The biggest difference is that she lunges towards you to do a horizontal attack, then a vertical slam. This move is done when you're far away from the boss. You can roll from this attack easily. Rising Thrust Attack. A move where Malenia jumps in the air, then immediately performing a thrust attack. She does this move when you're away from her. This attack might hit you when you're casting your spells or using a flask. This move tracks your position, and you need to roll to evade it. You can roll diagonally to the back, leaving you close to the boss and an opportunity for a counterattack. Grab. The boss will lunge to your character, grab you, throws you upward, then impales you with her sword. You can roll away from this move without difficulty, and punish her after.
You will witness true horror.
The infamous Waterfowl Dance. Damn. This move belongs in a Devil May Cry game. Pretty sure I'm not the only one who thinks like this. This type of craziness is something I've never expected. It's overkill, man.
Let's have some fun.
This multi-hit attack is relentless and is hard to evade or block. But it is important to learn how the move works. Malenia may start using this move when her life bar is below a certain point, at around 70 to 80%. There are multiple ways to evade the Waterfowl Dance, but the easiest and safest method for me is to run away from the first and second barrage of slashes, then roll or run through the third one. You can roll again right after so you won't get hit by the last 2 attacks, but if you're spaced properly, you don't have to. If you know she's about to use this move, you can run in advance. Be aware of your surrounding. Make sure there's enough space when running away. As you may have seen in some of my clips, this attack can be cancelled by moves and weapons that cause blood loss or frostbite. By cancelling this monstrosity, the fight is less complicated, and definitely faster to finish. Scarlet Ionia. This is the first move that Malenia uses during her second phase. From the air, she'll dive towards you, creating a giant scarlet flower that explodes. The flower has an area of effect that causes damage and scarlet rot. By circling around her while she's in the air, you can easily avoid her dive. This gives you space to avoid any of her attacks, and you can push her to the wall, making combos easier to connect. You can also walk away as soon as she's about to drop down. While waiting for the flower to disappear, you may throw projectiles and spells to damage the boss. Alternatively, you may use a freezing pot to cancel the move, skipping a chunk of waiting in the fight. Scarlet Spirits. Another Phase 2 exclusive move. She floats in the air, summoning spirits of herself that attack you in the process. You can dodge by rolling the strikes individually, but an easy way to avoid this is by simply running away from Malenia. You can punish her after the attack. Sweeping Strike. Malenia leaps in the air, goes down in sweeping motion, and does a thrust attack afterwards. The length of the thrust differ from time to time. After the thrust, she may also use a slamming attack that causes the ground to explode. These attacks can be dodged with ease. We're done with her moveset, but here's a couple of other tricks that you should know about. Let's talk projectiles. When a spell, skill, or item is thrown at her, Malenia will instantly dodge. Regardless of range, she'll immediately move to her side as soon as you press the button. This is troublesome for spellcasters, since most high damaging spells will easily miss the boss. But luckily for us, there's a simple trick that can be used so that spells could hit her. While casting your spell, make sure you're not facing Malenia, that way she'll stay in place, and get hit by your casted spells. You can turn sideways or turn your back against her while your spell is casting and face towards her when it's about to shoot out. This is easier to do when you're not targeting the boss. This works well with spells that have an area of effect, spread, and homing properties, some being Dragon Breath attacks and Flame of the Fell God. I have developed a simple incantation combo that will be discussed in the build section. Malenia evading projectiles can also be used to lure her towards you and bait for an attack. I use the Wraith Calling Bell to draw her right next to the entrance where it's much narrower, making successive attacks easier to connect. Slide, dash, and wake up. As mentioned earlier, Malenia sometimes slides and dashes in different directions. When you're attacking her at close range, she'll orbit you, leaving your character facing a different direction and will do a counter attack. Delay your next strike and wait for her to finish her slide. That way your next attack will track her position, potentially cancelling her move. Her slide, backslide, and wake up positions have super armor properties, so be mindful when to strike. You don't need to grind a whole lot for this boss, or any boss for that matter. For me, rune level 80 to 100 is more than enough to beat her and finish the game. Heck, you can even beat her at level 1. Feel free to level your character to whatever feels right for you. Higher stats will surely help. The footage used was taken from my many encounters with the boss. I experiment with different builds and equipment on New Game and New Game Plus. If you want an accurate display of damage, you may check my other videos to see the fights in its entirety. You can use these builds as reference and modify them as you wish. Incantation. Using Incantation against Malenia is a very good option. Fire and ice attacks do a great deal of damage, and there are many spells that make the encounter much more manageable. Here's a sample stat spread I use as my basis for my Incantation builds. Far from optimized, but it gets the job done. Next, these are the items and buffs I often use for the fight. The Golden Order seal scales on intelligence and faith. It's a very strong weapon. Having the right combination of talismans and physic flasks will maximize your damage. You may use more or less buffs if you want. And these are my main spells. Giant's Flame Take Thee, Flame of the Fell God, and Dragon Eyes. Flame of the Fell God, while a slow homing spell, can knock down Malenia and leave a damaging AoE attack. You can use this as your base spell to start your combo with. Make sure you have enough space between you and the boss, then wait for the fireball to detonate. Giant's Flame Take Thee is such a wonderful spell. You can use this when Malenia is getting up after being toppled. When hit, she'll get knocked down again. Here's a tip. The first time you knock down Malenia, she'll use her standard wake up animation. If you happen to topple her again, she'll use a double backslide or a single backslide continued by an attack as her get up action. If you happen to get the latter, you can intercept her incoming strike or evade it. What we want is for her to backslide twice so we can attack her again to potentially knock her down. The spell needs to hit her as soon as she's done with her second slide. This will reset her to the standard wake up animation. In Fury, you can topple loop Malenia. Granted, you have tons of FP and stamina. This fire spell is a great tool to counterattack Malenia. And we have Dragon Eyes. This move can be your finisher. After knocking down Malenia 3 times, you can use this attack. This move can leave Malenia frostbitten and potentially staggered if the spell is used at close proximity. This dragon spell is immensely helpful and will cancel Malenia's devastating attacks. Those are the 3 spells that I often use with this build. You can use them on both phases of the fight. Bleed. Bleed is crazy strong against Malenia. I can't stress this enough. It's beyond broken. What's cool about this build is that you can invest on Arcane and not focus too much on other stats. But if you want higher damage, adding points on strength and dexterity is always better. Here's some of the equipment, buffs, and items I have used against this boss. I switch my talismans and physic flasks depending on the type of weapon that I use. One weapon I would recommend is Rivers of Blood. It's one of the better weapons you could bring in most encounters. It's very easy to use, and its skill Corpse Piler is incredibly strong. The skill can be used from quite a distance, which you can abuse to damage Malenia and cancel her attacks. Wielding 2 twin blades is bonkers. Using the Art of War Seppuku will apply blood on both of your weapons. By doing this, the boss will hemorrhage in no time. You can dual weapon jump attack before or during her attacks, stopping most of her moves and dealing massive damage. If you want to see the boss's life bar deplete like it's nothing, you should consider Bleed. Beating a boss once is never enough. I know it's different for some, but I want to completely understand the game. The same applies with Malenia. I really hated her at first, but studying her made me appreciate the whole ordeal. Don't get me wrong, the fight could still be a whole lot better and improved. So much blood, sweat, and tears were shed. With time, the super boss kinda grew on me. Hearing I'm Malenia, Blade of Miquella, 60,000 times might have done something to my brain. I wasn't so sure if I'm enjoying the fight or not. But there was one thing I'm sure of. I really wanted to beat her. Again, and again. Hope you enjoyed watching this guide, and I wish you found something useful. If you have other tricks to share, please leave a comment. I'm still playing the game and learning a whole lot. I'll be dropping more guides in the future. And also, I made this fan art of Malenia for this video. You can check out my other works by visiting my page. I would really appreciate it. Anyways, thank you for sticking around. This is Glenn from Game Balls. Bye now.